right. Hi, welcome everybody. Today that we have got myself and Julie White. I'm Jennifer Mason, Julie White with the Evolve 365 Learning Team. And we are going to be going through today's topic, AI curious to AI capable. So we're super happy everybody was able to join us today. We're going to get things kicked off, but just a couple of notes. You can put questions in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them as we're going through. You can also raise your hand and we can take you off mute if you have something you want to share with the group. So we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Jennifer Mason. I am the Vice President of Workforce and Transformation at Planet Technologies. I run the Evolve 365 team, which Julie is one of our program managers out there. So she really helps us deploy Evolve 365 across all of our customer base. So Julie and I realized this morning that we've been working together on this for about 10 years. So it is Evolve's 10th birthday this year. So all sorts of exciting things that we've seen over the past 10 years as we've been bringing learning to different organizations. So where we really wanted to focus in and start with today is the work trend index. Now, this is a quarterly index posting that comes out from Microsoft Labs. This is going to be a location that Microsoft puts a ton of research into. It is an unbiased research with a slight lean towards Microsoft technologies, but since we all own and have deployed Microsoft technologies, that's good for us. It gives us some insight into how people are using it, along with what's coming for the future. So we'll see the last one came out in April. We're probably due to get one again around October. I know they say quarterly usually happens around big events. The next big event is Ignite. So I'm guessing we'll probably get another work trend index around then. Before then, the last one was in May of 2024. So the one theme that was evident and prominent across this entire work index was that this is the year of the frontier firm. And what they mean by that is a frontier firm is going to be someone who is leading in the frontier. We are going into the new spaces and we're leading with AI first. Honestly, it's a little bit of a buzzy word. It's a little bit of a buzzy feeling, but since we're all there, we know it's the world of AI. We might as well jump in and talk about it. So the first thing we want to do is talk about what we learned in these findings and why, and talk about why AI readiness matters. Um, so AI is here. There is no doubt about it. Julie, how many times have you used AI just today?
Just today? Oh boy, all day?
Yeah, AI is everywhere. It is going to be on my phone. It's going to be in my Alexa. It's going to be everywhere and everything that I'm doing. And according to the report, 75% of people are already using AI at work. Now, what's interesting is have 75% of the organizations on the call deployed AI in a way that it should be used at work? Are people using work tools or are they bringing their own AI to work and having work conversations and doing things there? So AI's here. People are already using it. So we kind of need to lean into that and give them the tools that make the most sense. So along with that, go back a second, Julie. 78% of users are bringing their own tools. So that 78% of people making their own decisions using their own tools. And then of those 78, 52% don't want to admit that they're using it for important tasks because they don't want it to seem like AI can replace me. So the truth of the matter is AI is here already. It's actually very ingrained into how we're working and the things that we're doing. I was on a call just this week with somebody said, "Well, you don't have to do it. AI can do it." And everyone laughed. We all kind of giggled a little bit. But the reality is it is everywhere and people are using it all over the place. And so why does that make, you can go to the next slide, Julie, sorry about that. Why does it make it so important for us to be ready for AI to come? So we know that when AI really transforms how we work, it is going to be redefining how we work. There's not going to be a single task that we do that's not going to have AI somehow tied to it. And that makes this year critical for us to embrace AI so that we don't start to fall behind. If you're not already embracing it, you're already behind and already late to the game. And then organizations that are failing to do it, they're starting to get outpaced by competitors and they're not able to innovate. The reality is that AI is going to impact so much of what end users do. It's going to be a transformative way of thinking, and we're going to need to start thinking differently now so that we can continue to think differently as the tools change and as they grow. And so, 85, or I'm sorry, 82% of business leaders say that this is a make it or break it year to rethink operations with AI as the driving force. So, AI, this is going to be the year we're kind of coming to the end of the 2025, going into 2026. And I think it's just going to get faster, stronger. It's just going to become more. But then that creates a new, interesting problem for us, and that's the readiness gap. What happens when we aren't ahead of the game? We aren't this frontier organization. We aren't the people that are on the front lines doing it. We're going to end up with an unprepared workforce. This is going to be a workforce that does not naturally think of how can I use these tools to deliver what I'm working on better, faster, different? How can I do things differently? And when that happens, if we have this gap still, we're going to get overwhelming workloads. If everyone around us is able to do it better, faster, quicker, but we're still, you know, stuck in doing things the old way, we are going to, have more productivity demands put on us, but we're not going to be able to deliver. There's also a trust and fear around AI. When I'm using AI, we know it hallucinates. Julie and I have often laughed about some of the hallucinations that AI has done. Sometimes it has just made things up for me. So, you still have to have a human in the mix. You still have to have those pieces. But do we educate our employees to know what should we trust? What should we be fearful of? What should we be mindful of? And then another statistics there is that 83% of leaders believe that it's going to empower employees to take on more complex tasks earlier in their careers. So we're going to be doing more and faster. I know my kiddo is a senior in college right now, and I think he's actually a junior in college right now. But when he goes into the workforce, he is not going to be going into the same workforce that I went into 20 something years ago. Is going to be different. The expectations are going to be different on them. Just like even in the next year, the expectations on me and my role and my team, it's all going to be different. So, how are we going to embrace AI to get there? Which then leads us into the conversation about, well, what are the key workforce challenges? And so, Julie, you can move on a slide or two. And I just want to kind of talk through what are some of the challenges that we're seeing. And this is things that we're seeing as well as what's coming from the workforce index. So if you're to go download the index report, you can get the full report. You're going to see some of these statistics as well. So only about 40% of employees feel confident using AI tools. um, that's pretty low. 40% feel confident using them. It's their go to, it's their first thing. And 67% of leaders report being comfortable with AI tools. So that's very interesting. It's very interesting that leadership is comfortable and leadership is depending on, leadership is going to be pushing AI, but the employees are lagging behind a little bit. They're not as comfortable. They may be fearful about what's going to happen with their roles and their positions. How do they do more with less, different things like that. And so when we go to the next slide and we look at some of the things that really overwhelm employees, 80% of workers feel overwhelmed with their current workload. So they feel like I'm doing too much as it is. I don't have time to stop and to learn how to do things differently. They also express concerns over the reliability of AI. But we know that they're also overwhelmed by the fact that they're hearing things like 78% of companies are going to start planning to hire for specific AI roles. So everybody is a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit tired, and we don't know what to trust. We don't know what to do, and we know these new roles are coming. So, Julie, have you seen any of this in your experiences or even your own personal experiences using AI and being ready?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting to see that leaders are more capable at this, ready and capable to take on, and then employees, the those kind of folks who day-to-day tasks might, be more of those mundane processes or things that are recurring, and those are the folks that are going to get the most out of AI. So I think it's really an interesting lead in to the responsibility of leaders and helping those employees feel more comfortable with AI so that everyone can progress forward. I do see a little bit of the fear and things like that. I feel like we're getting a lot of joking responses about AI with, oh, it's going to take our jobs. And, the reality is I think that people really are fearful of that. But it's really just being able to upskill yourself to utilize AI to maintain, the role and responsibilities that we're going to gain.
Yeah. I know even with myself, I've had to start to train myself to when I start with a new task, think about, okay, where would I use an AI assistant with this? Where is it going to be able to help me? Sometimes it helps me, sometimes it slows me down. So it just really depends on what task that I'm working on. But all of it comes kind of into our next section, which is a shifting mindset and culture. This is really what we have to develop. And one thing we know about change is that it takes time and it takes effort. If we want people to change the way they're doing things, if we want them to think differently, to embrace a new tool set, we know that it really has nothing to do with the tool set and it has everything to do with the change management that you're putting around and what we're celebrating. So, embracing a learn it all culture where we want people to dig into knowledge and information. Even Microsoft came out this week with uh, an article about how their mission to be a software company really needs to change into a mission to make data and knowledge accessible to everybody using tools. And so, are we part of that learn it all culture where we're just hungry and thirsty for more knowledge and we want to go after it? We want to take the time to, ask researcher questions and dig in and get the facts. Um, Also, embracing safe failures. This is good. Do we give our teams time to experiment and find out what may work or may not work? I know there was an example where Larissa, one of the people on my team, and I were working on some stats, and I was in Excel and I was not able to get it to tell me anything of meaning. And so I had failed at it, and I called her and we kind of laughed about it. And as we're talking about what we did, she said, "Well, have we tried this?" And then she opened it up on her screen, typed in some different prompts, and then before you know it, with the two of us working together, we started out the conversation laughing at how horrible my data was, and that was an issue with me and how I was talking with it, what I was doing, and what we ended up with was a new way of doing advanced reporting that we can now provide once we input the data. And so that was kind of an example of where we've gone from, a safe failure into something that was positive. And then that also goes along with the celebrating curiosity. Are we encouraging people? Are we sharing what we're learning? That's such a huge part of readiness. When your users are going to be feeling like they can take the time to learn, feeling like it's okay to stumble as we go, and then feeling like it's going to be celebrated when they're trying to figure these things out, these are all going to be big wins for your organization. Um, and so part of that changes with how we view AI. How do we each individually think about AI? It's not that AI is going to replace me. It's that someone using AI will. Whoever's going to figure out how do I use AI in my role to be better at my role and do things differently. When leadership support is there, the entire company is going to grow because leaders are going to cause individual people to grow because they're giving them the support and the space. And then people are going to come up with new ways of thinking and doing things. We're going to augment human work and we're going to have this AI agent boss mentality. Like, I may not have 10 employees anymore. I might have 5 employees and 17 agents. And so it's how are we going to work together? Now, I know that still kind of sounds funny, and being an agent boss and all of these things, it still kind of sounds a little bit like sci-fi and a movie in the future. But I do believe it is coming to that point, and we're getting to that point where we're going to be able to use this mentality. How about you, Julie? Even over the last 6 months, 3 months, how has your view of AI kind of morphed and changed?
Oh, big time. I think that early on, we weren't really sure how it was going to implement and integrate Copilot specifically, and having a license, being able to pull from across the organization. It's really helping us to stop reinventing wheels and find, places to start or even integrate information coming from other teams. So it has helped gather resources a lot very quickly. And then I think that that curiosity and that first step, then kind of just what else can I ask it to do? What else can I, make a little bit easier? I mean, I was doing a Power Automate flow that was a little above my knowledge space, and it really walked me through it and helped me get where I needed to be. And I might need to still reach out to a human colleague to help me, finalize that. But honestly, it is working, and that's all you can ask for with Power Automate sometimes.
That's fantastic. I love that. Well, what we kind of want to do now in the session is go over some of the key questions that we've been hearing from different agencies and different organizations we've been working with as we're deploying AI, as we're working with them on these things. And so we thought we'd turn it into a little bit of a Q&A type time where Julie and I will each answer the question, kind of talk through our experiences. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Either way will work. Either way will work for us. So the first one is, what do we see as the biggest barrier that's preventing employees from embracing AI tools, and how do we overcome it? Um, and so, Julie, I'll let you kind of take this one first. What do you think are some of the biggest barriers, and how can we overcome those?
Yeah, I think access and awareness. So if the organization is giving, me access to AI tools, they're likely expecting me to use it, but that may not have been messaged to me. So maybe I'm not sure where I'm allowed to use it or if I'm allowed to use it. How do I cite my sources when I'm doing things with AI? So one of those barriers I think is really sharing information with users. What do they have access to? Is it a licensed Copilot space, or is it third-party AI tools that have been approved by the workforce? Or is it simply the free versions? And then in addition to that, what am I allowed to then tell AI? So it's really about access and an understanding of what is allowed for each individual organization. Now, when you're using Copilot, it's really helpful because it's integrating into the products, including the safety and those security measures, so that we're not running into issues with sharing information, personal information, or sensitive information with AI. When we're utilizing some of those third-party systems, that can be a barrier.
Yeah, that's really great. I think awareness is kind of my take on it as well. I think that there's a certain type of awareness of knowing what other people are doing and then feeling comfortable enough to try different things as well. So, from a leadership perspective, are you emulating what you want your users to be doing? Are you trying new things with the AI? Are you trying to embrace it? Are you failing fast and then figuring out what went wrong, sharing what you've done, and sharing that with your group, because if leaders do it, others will start to follow. And so by embracing that, I think that's going to be one of the key things. I think people do not know what they do not know. And there's so much noise that they don't often know when they're missing something they should know. So I think it's very important that we are over communicating and sharing what resources are available, showing how things can be used, and then celebrating what it's like to live in this interim world where sometimes things are going to work, sometimes they're not. Um, so there's a lot of just different ways to show that we can show what we're doing. I know I have a weekly leaders meeting, and we try to talk about AI and the different things um, that we're doing there, and going through that. So we do have a question. I'm Russ from Tampa. Thanks for joining us, Russ. Data governance so far seems quite challenging with AI. Specifically, what are companies doing about shadow AI, like staff using free chat GPT account, inputting sensitive company info? Yeah, we have definitely seen that. And so there's a lot of planning that goes into AI. It opens up a fountain of knowledge. I keep hearing those things. It's like a faucet of knowledge. But if you got brown water in there because it's dirty knowledge, that's not a good thing either, right? So you have to have clean data. You have to have these things set up. I know specifically there have been some access controls, even at Planet Technologies. There's some certain areas that have been completely locked down where we do not let those areas get read by any of the AI models so that we lock them down, keep them secure. Then there's also different things that we may block websites if we don't want them using certain tools and different things like that. And then some of it is just educating them, because when you're using things like Copilot, you're connected to the Office 365 graph, you're connected to your environment, and you're in a safe place. So we know that people are going to be using the third party tools and they're going to be bringing in the AI tools, and so we need to kind of get ahead of that by offering them an alternative. And so some of that will be restricting. I know that's going to be a little bit like playing cat and mouse, getting in front of things, then the next one comes out, and then the next one. But restricting access to some of those tools, as well as going in and making sure you're giving them an alternative and telling them why the alternative's better. I actually do spend a lot of time talking to people internally. Some of the people on the call, Phil and Jason on the call here, assisting us getting this set up, they'll hear that from me too, and I'll be like, well, why did you use that tool instead of this tool? And let's talk about why it makes sense to use this tool, because here are the things I can safely say to this tool, and it's not learning from the things that I'm doing. So a lot of it's education and making alternatives available. But that was a great question, Russ, and hopefully that helps as you're going through and thinking through that. All right. So the next question that we've been running into is, how can leadership effectively foster a culture that encourages experimentation? Um, I love this one. I think the thing that we have to do is we just have to use it. We have to be using it. We have to be giving the expectation that, hey, I expect you to work on this for me, and I also expect you to use AI to do this percentage of it. Or have you thought about using AI here? I just recently sent out stats to my team and said, hey, everybody, here's your Copilot stats. Guess what? I'm at the top and you're at the bottom. Like, let's kind of, let's do this. Let's where are we using it? Where are we not using it? And then also, I think embracing the failures of it, because if I can show somebody reason, like, it's, there's going to be some things that I'm going to try to do with AI that make 100% logical sense, and it just doesn't work, or it hallucinates, or I've worded something wrong. But being able to explain that to somebody and to work through it really gives them the freedom to feel like they can do that as well. It gives them the freedom to say, oh, I'm supposed to be experimenting with this. Also, doing things like setting up the AMAs, which is the Ask Me Anything, or the promptathons, where it's really just, hey, open ended, let's talk about these scenarios. So those are some of the ways that I've seen. Julie, how about you? What are you thinking or seeing out there of ways that we can foster that type of learning environment?
Yeah, I think every chance that leadership gets to showcase either success or failure, catastrophic failure with AI, the hallucinations are actually one of the things that you really should be sharing, because it's not only interesting, but it showcases that that does happen. And so we need to not only allow our folks to experiment, but to know that those failures are going to occur, and what do we do when they do? So how do I reprompt? How do I get back? How do I get AI back on track, kind of thing? So, and it just comes down to giving it the context, and I think that leaders need to also offer those training exercises, the prompts that we talk about, and how to prompt. Most of us that grew up with computers and things like that, um, probably more comfortable prompting Google or Bing, which always, the more concise, the more factual you could be, the better. That's not the case with the AI tools that we're using for work. So Copilot and those the other AI tools, Gemini and things, they really do need all of the context that, let's say, an intern at the organization might
Hmm.
need. It's a new employee, and we really do need to kind of give it the information that it needs to succeed. And so when it fails, where could I have filled it in a little bit, or where could I have offered it more information? And I think that just that understanding and sharing that information as a leader just really helps with the experimentation, and that to reduce the fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I love this next one. This next one talks about how employees are already busy with their day-to-day tasks. So, what are some effective ways to integrate AI learning into their workflow without adding burden? And Julie, I know as a learning strategist, this is your cup of tea, and this is what you spend all day working on. So, tell us a little bit about, what you've seen here and some of the ways that you can incorporate this into the day-to-day of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the best ways to offer incorporation is to ask questions to AI that you would be asking to other people. If you're going to reach out to someone and ask for assistance, or where can I find this, or what happened in a previous meeting, ask AI first, and then kind of go from there. That way, either it's going to give you a starting point on what happened, a little summary,
Mhm.
or it's going to give you a detailed outline of everything that you need, and maybe then you don't need to reach out. Because then we're waiting on responses and things like that. So just kind of working in those questions. And then again, when you start up your computer, maybe get a summary of the tasks that you have to do, use it in Outlook as much as you can, and then just putting it into the different things that we are doing in Teams too. The great thing about Copilot is when we're working with the Microsoft products, it is in every single tool that we're already working in. So if I was going to go to, let's say, Bing to ask a question and get an answer, I'm going to start with Copilot now because it's right there. I don't have to leave the window.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think another trick that Larissa taught me was she was just naturally going through and she asked Copilot to explain, why did you do this? What was your thinking here? And then it helped her understand, oh, here's how I need to say it and here's what I need to prompt. And then, I saw someone else went into Excel and they didn't know how a calculation had been done. So they asked Copilot, tell me how they came to this calculation, and then they were able to get the answers that they needed. Whereas if they weren't using AI to do it, it would have been something that they would have had to go dig into, figure out, probably do some searches. So there's a lot of different things that we can try to educate people to do where they're going to be learning about AI where they don't even realize that that's what they're doing, and then that's that mindset change. All right. And then finally, the last question that we have from a leader's perspective, how do we measure progress towards an AI ready workforce? And what metrics or signs indicate that our workforce is becoming more AI capable? I think this one's interesting. I think a lot of this has to do in the beginning with prompting and continue to prompt. When you are giving people access to a tool, do you find that they all click on it once and then put it down for 30 days? Or are they clicking on it every day? Are they spending a little bit more time in it every day? Are they going from just using the chat to using, Copilot in Outlook and Copilot in PowerPoint, Copilot in Word? Am I using it in all of these different applications that are available to me? And looking at and understanding, how many prompts a day are people doing? Are we getting the return on it? Are we talking to people and saying, are we saving time? There's a pilot group that we were working with, and one person put in there that, they each saved 10 minutes off of a task by doing it. And then they were able to calculate the man hours that they saved over a period of time because just doing this one small piece of the process with AI was doing it. So I think a lot of it's going to be asking, getting to know your users, and then sharing scenarios where they're saving time. I know in October, so the way our company is set up is there's people do reviews, and some of them do them by anniversary date and some of them do them at the end of the fiscal. Well, I do them by anniversary date, so I've been working on them all year, and I have figured out how to take a process that normally took me about 2 hours, and I've gotten it down to about 45 minutes by using AI, and my results are better. And so I know that in just a little bit, I'm going to be giving some classes to some folks and saying, hey, we're going to speed this up, and here's how you're going to be able to speed it up. And then, that's been a great tool for me because I've been able to use, all of the graph and where things are connected. So it's the right tool for the right task. But I think being able to track how much time are we spending on these certain repeatable tasks and responsibilities, and some of that is to just be coming up with creative ways to ask, to survey our users and to get to that data. So Julie, do you have anything to kind of add there about metrics or things that you would say?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to, of course, are the M365 usage reports. I think that having access to those is really helpful, even from a leader in the education space as well.
Mhm.
Not all of our folks are going to have access to those, of course. Those are there for global admins. But when we're able to get visuals of that information, we then can start to prioritize different features and functionality that maybe folks aren't doing yet, so that we can encourage more adoption along the way. So folks might get a very small understanding of how to use Copilot, and then they just stick to that. What we are hoping for
Mhm.
and learning from the different features and functionality that people are utilizing in the Microsoft products, that we can extend that and continue to extend the ways that they're using AI long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And those reports just keep getting better and better. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come out with, even in the next couple of months. Well, and then that brings us to, I would have to say my favorite way to get ready for anything, any new technology is going to be Evolve 365. So we wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about Evolve 365 and how it helps you really become that AI ready workforce. So Evolve 365 is going to have a systematic approach to AI adoption. We're going to come in, we're going to look at your organization, your agency with you. We're going to figure out realistically where we at, where do we want to get to, and then how do we do that along the way. Sometimes that's going to include things like one-on-one end user coaching. There might be AMA sessions. There might just be a ton of virtual classroom training that we make available. It might also be the complete opposite, where you're an agency or organization where we just want to send people 5 minutes of training once a week, and we're going to send it out that way. So we really help you guys work together to figure out how is your agency going to embrace and utilize the information that they need, and what tools can we provide for that. We also have a platform that just lends itself to continuous learning. We have even a new dashboard that's just coming out this week where you can go in and say, I want to learn about this topic and this topic. And then every week it's going to be refreshing you with the latest information we've published about those topics. So just being able to have that training available, also having up to date training. So we do training for all of the Microsoft clouds, so you don't have to worry about it. And then we update our training all the time. I think we're a couple thousand a week, it seems like, that we're changing videos. My favorite is when Microsoft moves a button from one side of the screen to the other, and then we get to just re record everything. But they do it, that's what they like to do. But we have a whole team that's looking at the roadmap, paying attention to the features, and getting the training ready and available for you guys. And so some of the features of Evolve include um, just expert led training. So, we're going to have a learning strategist that is going to work with you guys, that's going to go into your environment or a demo environment of your environment where we can go in and show people. We can do everything from, hey, here's a 30-minute overview to, hey, here's 2 hours on the same topic. And we're walking along and doing exercises together with your users. We have over 100,000 learning videos right now, and those are all 1 to 3 minute videos that teach you how to do something inside of Microsoft 365 or really anywhere in the Microsoft ecosystem. The videos are meant for adult learners, which means that you're going to see, hear, and do all kind of in the same video. And so by seeing it and hearing it and then reading it, you're able to really retain that information as an adult learner would. So it's not about just taking the training to take the training. It's quick and easy on demand when you need it, with customizable learning paths. So we've done this, getting started with Copilot can be different at every organization. So the learning strategist will come in and curate the content with you to say, hey, here are the examples that are really going to make sense to this division in my organization. Because you know what? Marketing is going to use Copilot very different than sales, and sales is going to use it very different than finance. So I am not going to make my sales team go to a bunch of training on how to get formulas explained to them in Excel, because they don't need that. They're not going to want to do that, nor do they ever really go that much in Excel. But my finance team, wow, that could really save them a lot of time when they're getting ready for audits and have all this complex data and different calculations. So I may set up different curated learning paths for each of the different roles and personas. Also, one-on-one end user coaching, like what was the stat before that so much of a percentage of people said they're afraid to let people know they're using AI? Well, they're might just need a little bit of training on it. And you know what? Setting up a one-on-one coaching session where I can go get to the help that I need is going to be a lot more comfortable and a safer experience for people where they don't want to be judged if they're in a live training class or going to the help desk. And so it's just another way to make the information available to people, as well as using dashboards to analyze, hey, what are they looking at when it comes to training? What are they looking at when it comes to M365 usage? Are we driving usage and adoption? Or are we pushing that needle forward? Are we getting what we expect? And so those are some of the features of Evolve. And what really ties it all together is a learning strategist. So your learning strategist is your dedicated resource that is going to be there to help answer any questions that you have, help you curate this content, help you customize the content. You may want to put in a PDF that explains, here's our rules for doing it. Going through adoption reports, all of those pieces. So you never have to go it alone. You've got somebody there that's been there, that's worked with other agencies, other organizations, other corporations, has worked with them, kind of has this overall knowledge of learning and how adults learn, and then is there to help deliver this content in a way that makes sense for you. So, Julie, I'm going to pass it to you now, and we're going to have you do a demo of the Evolve 365 platform.
You bet. Let me pull up our site. So this is an Evolve 365 portal. This one is focused heavily on Copilot, since we're talking about AI today. But really, this is a fully customizable homepage where we can highlight information to your broader organization. There are a lot of tools for individuals to set up learning experiences and things like that for themselves. But really, some of these more highlighted areas like the homepage and the library, we're going to really focus those on what's most important to the organization as a whole. And then folks can kind of self-learn as needed. And so what we're able to do here is focus, quick links, full training libraries. We can embed videos to look at, but your learning strategist will work with you to make sure that this is the look and feel that you want it to be There's a little bit of branding that customization that we can do, of course, with your logo and colors and things like that. And then obviously making sure that we're highlighting information that's relevant to your folks rather than, a
Yeah.
hodgepodge of
And
stuff.
I'd say, Julie, today, just today, I was looking at this. We have over 100 customers active. How many of
Yeah.
them have the same site?
Oh,
Probably not a single
hard.
one of them.
Yeah, I would say it would be hard to find an identical site for sure. And
Yeah.
that's not just the homepage, that's also which subjects are active in the library. So what we're looking at now is the library of content. And as Jennifer mentioned, we have hundreds of thousands, 100,000 videos, maybe more. And not all of that content might be relevant to your users. So, for example, if you all are using the Google Suite or Google Workspace, we would want to have some of that training active in your environment so that so that your users could come in and learn about it. If you're only focused on the Microsoft products, we could do that. If you are supporting Mac users, we have content for those folks as well. But again, we really want to narrow this down so that the key subjects or the keyword searches are more accurate for your users. So if I want to come into the site and ask a question of Evolve, I can find exactly what I'm looking for rather than clicking in here and saying charts and finding things on Excel and on Google Sheets. That's not going to be helpful for me. That's also helpful for those different release tracks that we were discussing. We can set the sites to be commercial focused, or if you're an agency on the government community cloud, we can set the training content to GCC. And then those items that are available or those features that are available for commercial that aren't yet available for your cloud, those wouldn't be accessible to your users. And then that reduces frustration on their end as well. So it's very helpful to have that. And then this is our Copilot subject. It's very similar to the rest of our subjects inside of here. If we were looking at Teams or Excel or Outlook, they would all look very similar to this, just in the organization of it. Along the top, we offer what we call guided learning paths. These are going to be step-by-step information on how to get started with a program. And then moving along to more advanced features and functionality. This is really helpful for folks who know they need to learn about a subject, but maybe don't know where to start. And so I can come in here and just start digging in. Might spark some curiosity to ask questions of that keyword search, or I might be able to just come into the categories that we have available and say, I'm working with Copilot and Word. This is where I need my training to focus right now. So that's where I can click into. And then all of our videos are directly into the site and have instructional text or companion text that'll allow folks to just read and get what they need if they need to. We were talking about adult learners. Some folks are visual learners. Some folks need the information as quickly as possible. And so we want to give those folks as much opportunity as we can for the different ways that they like to learn.
Yeah. How about scenarios? Do we have
Yeah, let's look at
persona-based
those.
training? Yeah.
You bet. So these are our persona-based trainings specific to Copilot, and it's going to offer, users in the different areas that we were discussing, maybe marketing, maybe sales, finance, data analysis. And it's going to help us go directly to the training that's going to matter most to us when we're talking about these types of AI capabilities. And so we have quite a few of those. I'm just scrolling through. It's just sharing the different, blurbs about what will be learned in those. But any of those courses that we were just looking at, I'll click on one in here in just a second. Those are called skill tracks inside of Evolve. All of those for every subject are listed here. We can also search for them in the skills dashboard. But if I want to learn how to create an effective prompt, I can actually sign up for a course that is exactly that. And it's going to take me through lessons, which are videos, activities and quizzes, which help with retention and learning actually how to do something. And as an individual user, I can enroll in any of these trainings on my own. But as admins on the site or leaders, we can actually publish these to users as well. one of the things that we do here at Planet is anyone with a Copilot license at our organization has to go through a comprehensive Copilot training before they're given access to that license. It's an expensive license, so it makes perfect sense. And this is something that we see with organizations all the time, not
Mhm.
just for Copilot, but if you have folks who want to be team owners or need to be team owners, you might want to give them a team owner training before they get those permissions. And it's just those accelerated permissions or access to further licensing. Sometimes a compliance situation as well with security, cybersecurity
Mhm.
training, and things of that nature.
I know one that I really liked was project. People were going in and requesting a full project license, and
Yep.
before they were able to get that license, they actually had to go to a kind of a when to use what for task management. And what they were able to do is really streamline who needed a project license and who could use to do and planner and different things like that. Because a lot of people were going to project just because it's been the
Yeah.
project management tool of the past. And so a lot of people were asking for that licensing, but we were really able to reduce the number of people that needed that licensing because they just weren't aware of this new way of doing it inside of Microsoft 365. So much of this is about education. And, going back over to the presentation, is really why does it work? Why does this work as a solution for adoption? And it really gets into the fact that we're able to close the knowledge gap. We are able to give people access to the information. We're able to make it self sourced so they can go out and find it when they need it. We also proactively work to share out the information that's important. And in doing that, you're also going to reduce the fear, increase the confidence because people are going to see that things are always available. They're going to know, hey, this new feature's coming here. Not only am I going to get this feature, I'm going to get training on how to use it. I'm going to get guidance on how to use it. Um, all of that's going to boost our productivity. People are going to be able to do more when they have better tools and they know how to use those tools. And then your learning strategist is going to be there to help you measure these successes. So you're going to be able to go and say, "Wow, this is the ROI that we got out of this. I saved all 75 of these people 5 minutes a day on this task." And that's really going to translate into measurable success that you can then share and grow that to others within the organization. And so this is why Evolve works by creating just that constant environment of learning. We have a tool that's available, and people can go to that knowledge source to learn about how to do things better and faster, whether they want to learn about it from a specific feature set or they want to learn about it from a scenario or concept. Either way, they're going to be able to drive in and get that content there. So that's really why Evolve works. It's a tool we really stand behind. Julie and I have been here since the beginning on this tool, and we just really think it is the answer to getting that workforce ready and teaching them how to use these tools and really take things to that next level. So I want to be sensitive to time. I wanted to leave some time if there were any questions that anyone has for Julie and I. We would be happy to stay around and answer any questions that you guys have. We thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to be following up with everyone who attended to talk to you guys about some Copilot for All training that we're offering to deliver out to users. So I'll be following up in the next day or two on that, as well as giving you guys a recording to this session that you guys can download and reference as well. So we will kind of just pause here and wait and see if there's any questions.